Hey, and welcome to Astrology for the People. This is for the new moon in Virgo on Sunday the 13th of September at 4:42 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So it's an energy forecast. We're going to look at what's happening in the next couple of weeks and how we can work with those influences to make the most of them in our personal growth and flow with the cosmic tides rather than against them. So thank you for joining me. Welcome, and let's dive in. Cool. Hi. So I'm speaking into the future. I'm actually recording this. We're still just in August. I'm going to be in the middle of the move when I'm due to give you your update, but yeah, it felt like a really important one not to miss, so I wanted to share with you nonetheless. It's interesting to be really pulling on the amazing predictive powers that astrology does have. Generally I combine those with kind of sitting with the energy of the time and merging those two influences, I guess, but yeah, because I'm getting a little ahead of myself, literally. We're going to be working purely off the maths this time around, and a little bit of instinct. I had a couple of visions come while I was feeling into this too. The first vision that I'll actually share with you that I had was this devoted monk, and what he was doing was going out to the garden in his monastery day after day after day, and I saw this film reel in my head of this monk going through this same process day after day after day as the weather changed. So he gardened in the rain, he gardened in the sun, he gardened in the wind. And yeah, it felt quite accurate for the opportunity that this month ahead, really, the year ahead, I suppose, with Jupiter and Virgo is going to offer. But yeah, speaking specifically for the first 2 weeks of September, it's a powerful time of healing. There's a little bit of a can of worms. We do have a partial eclipse for one. So we've got the Sun-Moon conjunct in a partial eclipse opposite Chiron within 1 degree, within 2 degrees. Yeah, really close. It's very tight opposition. And yeah, bit of a can of worms. There's a big process there. I could talk about this for the entire video, and I'm kind of reluctant to dive in. I guess I end up on a big rant. But what I really wanted to share was this aspect combined with Lilith, so Black Moon Lilith, conjunct the North Node in 0 degrees Libra, so right at the start of Libra. And there's this journey here. The words that came were a journey from self-doubt to self-respect. So what Chiron tends to do is bring up our old wounding, bring up the stuff that needs to be healed. So it's not always fun, you know. We can have this self-doubt come up. We can have real challenges come up where we feel like we're compromising ourselves. And with that Lilith in that 1st degree of Libra, there's this real sense of journeying until we reach a place where we become uncompromising. Now, that might sound a little bit in contrast to what I said in the last video, but bear with me, because the statement that actually came to me was, how lovingly can you stand your ground? So yeah, just let that sink in for a moment. How lovingly can you stand your ground? There's this sense of, we've been taught, particularly women in society, but not exclusively, we've been taught that self-sacrifice and compromising and sacrificing our own needs to be there for others is a noble thing to do, is a loving thing to do. And there's a real misconception there, because it's not loving towards the self, and it's not actually loving towards the relationship either, because as much as we try and convince ourselves that, I'm happy to give this up for this other person, there are times, with children or with people we really deeply care about, when it's a small sacrifice and we genuinely do that for the pleasure of giving. But a lot of the time, what we're actually doing is setting ourselves up to resent that other person without their, desire or consent. They don't want us to resent them. They don't you know, it has a really negative impact on the energetic of a relationship if we continually self-sacrifice. And with this Chiron Sun opposition and Chiron Moon opposition, because of the nature of the eclipse and the new moon, there's a bit of a sense there too of, you know, anything kind of going on around codependency or needing the approval of others, needing the self to be approved of, needing to prove the self. So this prove, approve, all feels really relevant at the moment. And when we feel like we're being doubted by another person, it's really natural to kind of go into the proving the self. I need to prove myself to them. But we tend to find that it's actually a little bit pointless, and it doesn't tend to work in our favour. It's interesting with Lilith and the North Node conjunct in the way that they are, because some people might be acting a bit out of character lately. And with obviously the nature of the healing journey, as we continue to grow, the changes that we express, so the way that we express ourselves to others and how that changes over the course of our healing, you know, that's going to shock some people. That's going to put some people off. They're not quite going to know what to do with that. That's going to maybe trigger stuff for them, whether that's shame or guilt. Whatever it is, we need to remember that that is being awakened in them because of what's there for them. And we don't need to dim our light for the sake of other people. We don't need to try and keep ourselves small because we're worried about offending others or making others feel bad. In fact, if we are able to give ourselves the permission to really shine and to really stand in our truth, we're giving those people around us permission to do the same as well. And, you know, recognizing that that might be uncomfortable for a little while and getting comfortable with discomfort. Like, we really need to do that. Recognizing that, yeah, you know, well, maybe it does bother someone else when we stand in our truths and they don't necessarily get what they want from us. We don't allow them to overstep our boundaries, but we're actually doing the relationship a great service in the long run, because you can't have a true loving relationship with someone who you allow to overstep your boundaries. You can't actually feel safe with someone who you don't, feel able to hold your space with, because that's, you know, that's not unconditional love. That's not heart space. That's fear and ego and codependency. It's not light. It's not a light month. Virgo isn't light. Virgo is very serious. It's one of the much more, you know, grounded, and it's there is work to be done. There is work to be done. You know, we don't have to do it. It's always a choice whether we do our inner work or not. But just quietly, it's generally a lot less traumatic if we do it. Because it saves us recycling the same old patterns and the same old traumas and the same old conflicts and the same old self-doubt. Self-compassion is a really powerful tool at the moment. If, you know, for example, we have some kind of interaction with another person and they don't like, you know, something about us for whatever that reason is. You know, okay, let me give you an example rather than me being all vague and abstract. Say you're having a conversation with someone and they keep going on and on and on, and you really need to go. You've got stuff that you need to do, but you're really worried about offending them. You don't want to interrupt them, and they just keep talking and talking and recycling the same old stuff. And maybe in the past you've just allowed that to happen, and you've just, you know, listened and yes and nodded and kind of gone, I really need to get away from here. And then you leave the situation finally and you say, oh God, it's always so draining hanging out with that person. Why do they just keep talking like that? And in that is the real victim mentality. It's like, well, you know, you could have actually interrupted them. What stopped you interrupting them? Your fear of them not liking you, yeah? So, yeah, this is the kind of example I'm talking about. So say in that situation, this time round, we're able to say, oh, hey, look, I've actually really got to go now. But yeah, thanks for the chat. So I'll definitely catch up with you soon. You don't need to justify. You don't need to apologize. They might not like that very much in that precise moment. However, I guarantee on a deep subconscious level, they will thank you for it. Because on a deep subconscious level, they're probably feeling insecure about continually talking, not knowing if you want to listen, because they can pick up on your energy around that anyway. So you get what I'm saying? We've kind of got the conscious level and then the subconscious level that takes place in a relationship. So yeah, I encourage you to interrupt this time. You know, and you can do that really lovingly. How lovingly can you stand your ground? And by showing that love towards the self first, If they react, they react. Then when you go away, you don't need to beat yourself up about that. You don't, you know, even if you didn't quite nail it, even if you weren't as loving as you would have liked to be, what would you say to a best friend in that situation? You know, would you say, oh God, you should have been more loving. God, now they're upset with you. What have you done? You're so stupid. You should have just kept listening. Or would you say, good on you for really putting yourself first then. It's going to be better for your relationship in the long run. It's going to take practice, you know. This new way of being, this learning to assert ourselves lovingly, takes practice. We're not always going to nail it, but if we can love ourselves first, and this is a bit of an extension of what I touched on a couple of weeks ago, coming out of that Leo energy into this Virgo, it's like if we can love ourselves first, then we can be a lot more at peace with the journey and not load all of these secondary emotions on top of what's already happening. You know, let whatever's happening happen, feel that and feel the feelings that come with that. We don't need to load, oh, you should have done this better, all on top of that, because ouch, like poor soul. We're all doing our best. Cut yourself some slack and give yourself some love. Yeah. So I'm wondering if there's anything that I've forgotten. Oh yeah, there was one more thing I wanted to talk about. So this is a bit of a beginning of a new phase with this eclipse. We do also have Venus and Mars trine Uranus. So they're not quite conjunct. I'm not going to go jargony on you. They're both trine Uranus. That's what matters. And so there is this opportunity to really break away from old ways of doing things. It's like, yeah, try something new. Someone doesn't like you for it, and you know, you can like you. And that's the most important thing. So that was one thing. We do really have that supporting us to break away at the moment. And the other thing was we do have a Mars-Saturn square building. So that's a bit like, it's frustrating. There's some real frustration there. You know, Mars wants to go and Saturn's like, whoa, Nelly, these things take time. There's a tendency to feel a little bit trapped when we've got a Mars-Saturn hard aspect. But what I'd really recommend and really encourage you to do is remember that freedom starts from the inside. So regardless of how oppressive your situation may seem at any given point in time, freedom starts on the inside. Freedom starts with your relationship with what's happening. And yeah, structure is actually a really powerful thing when it comes to freedom. You know, it gives us a lot more room to move when we know where the boundaries are, rather than this kind of anxiety and uncertainty and not knowing what's going on. With the hard aspect of Mars, it's like, you know, actual moving forward and doing stuff may kind of get a little bit clunky for a little while, particularly with Mercury going retrograde as well. This is the other thing that's happening. So back up your files. If things get frustrating and stuff isn't moving forward, just give that a little bit of space. Don't keep driving. There's no need to be planting a whole bunch of seeds and running around like a mad person when the soil's not fertile and the weather's not right. Yeah, the weather really is right at the moment for doing the inner work, and it will blow your mind. The more you clear the inner stuff, the outer stuff will come after that. The outer stuff will flow from that. It never ceases to amaze me. You can run around doing all these physical actions, but if there's something that's not clear on an energetic level, it's not going to move. And then all of a sudden you clear that and it just goes whoosh, and everything will start to happen smoothly. So yeah, it's I wouldn't be trying to drive forward too much at the moment. I'd focus more on coming in and learning to stand your ground lovingly, so that there's not like, you know, 3 steps forward, 5 steps back, which can happen if we throw ourselves into something that we're not ready for, and then we come up against the doubt and confusion and we don't have the foundation that we need to kind of rock onto that back foot and go, and there's the backlash and forward we go again. So yeah, I would recommend listening to this video twice. You don't have to, obviously. Oh, yeah, I know it takes up time, and time is precious. You know, your soul's precious too. And there's a lot there. There's a lot there. Where this Chiron Sun Moon opposition is happening right on the eclipse. Oh, it's unreal. It's going to vary for different people. So depending on which house this is taking place in your natal chart, it's going to change, I guess, which part of your life it's showing up in dominantly. This journey from self-doubt to self-respect, and really Yeah, like becoming lovingly assertive and becoming really true and strong in the self, and like, you know, this is where I stand. And I can really respect where you stand, and I can really communicate respectfully with you about where we both stand, and this is where I stand. Yeah, and in order to know that, we need to be self-connected. So yeah, that would be my other recommendation over the next bit, is whatever works for you in order to connect inwards, whether that's having a bath and taking time just to feel, whether that's you know, lying in a hammock in the evening. I actually did that last night and just kind of wriggled around and talked to a dear friend on the phone, and left just feeling really self-connected. Whether it's going for a run, whether it's cooking, whatever really gets you in touch with that part of yourself where there is knowledge and there is wisdom. If you want help accessing that, do the Opening to Love meditation on my website. That's another way that you can do that. Yeah, if you're on the mailing list, you would have gotten it a couple of emails ago. Oh, you can probably hear my little boy. He's with my partner. I'm going to go play with him. But yeah, I love you so much. I love you so, so, so much, beautiful people. And yeah, I'm going to be planning a trip to Brisbane really soon. So I will probably, in the email that goes out with this, actually have a look. Yeah, and there'll be a date in there that I'll be coming down if you want to see me while I'm in town. Yeah, okay. Have fun, journey well, and next time you hear from me, I'll be speaking to you from the mountain. Much love, beautiful ones. Take care. Bye.